Welcome to the Strength Coach Collective presented by Samson Equipment. I'm your host, Matt Tometz, and I'm joined today by Lucas White, who is the Assistant Athletic Performance Coach of football, men's soccer, women's soccer, track and field at San Jose State University. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
Good. And for those who are not familiar with your background, could you please enlighten us on where you are now and where you've been?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So originally from Evansville, Indiana, started out as a head high school strength coach at FJ Wrights High School. Worked there for 3 years, and then I had a chance to go to Mississippi State University, work with football as an intern. And then from there, had an opportunity to go to New Mexico State University for 2 years, working as a sports performance coaching assistant under Don Decker. And then from there, I had a chance to go back to Indiana State University and get working on grad school. And I made it there about like 8 months. And my name got thrown in for the mix here at San Jose State. And then I moved out here in April of 2019 and been out here ever since, man. It's been a wild ride, but it's been a lot of fun. I wouldn't change it.
Fantastic. And there's a lot of different kind of levels and scenes and some steps forward and maybe a step back. But before we get into that, what's the coolest story you have thus far in your career? Like if you had to pick one to tell, what would it be?
Oh, my God. So there's a lot. I mean, I think you don't go around this field and meet a strength coach that doesn't have at least a cool story or two to tell. But if I had to pick, man, it would be when I was at New Mexico State and we won the 2017 Arizona Bowl, and Larry Rose, as senior year, last play at New Mexico State ever, hit that walk-off to win the game against Utah State in overtime. That was one of the coolest things I've seen as a coach. But as far as coaching story, just the ebb and flow of that game and the season as a whole. And we had to win that last game against South Alabama to even, have bowl eligibility. And we won that in the last 20 some odd seconds of the game. And then when we went to the Arizona Bowl, we, had no idea how that was going to play out. And watching someone who had given so much to that program be able to cap it off like that, it was perfect, man. So that was by far my coolest story is being on the field and being a part of that season, being part of that team.
Was that one of those seasons where season starts, you're about halfway through and there's something kind of in the air, or was it like you just got hot at the end at the right time and just rode it all the way to the end?
I think it was something that was hot. It was in the air the whole time. I think after we played Arizona State and we gave them a really good game and we did some really good things just from an execution standpoint during the course of the game. I think our guys realized, hey, we can play at this level and we can play with these guys. And so we kept that same juice going, through the season. And that was something we always try to tell our guys, like, hey, it's, we're going to have some good times. We're going to have some rough times. A lot of times we're going to be, in between. And that was something that our staff, I thought we did a good job of is, stay green, never too high, never too low. Everything's going to shake out the way it's going to shake out. But that group of kids, man, they were outstanding to coach. And the credit goes to them. They were the ones that had to suit up and go play on Saturday. But I thought our staff did a great job there. Our kids did a great job, and it was something that throughout the entire season we said, "Hey, we've got some special. We can go snap that bowl drought. There's a team that can do it. This team can do it." And that team went and did it. So yeah, it was something I was just there the whole season. It was a pleasure and a blast to be a part of.
And I can only imagine what that payoff must have felt like. So very cool. And then next big question. So going from high school to SEC intern to WAC intern and coach, and then the Valley GA. And then now to Mountain West coach. Could you compare and contrast kind of on that journey, the different levels, positions, and also your decision to go back to school?
So that's a great question. A lot of impact there. So I honestly, in my opinion, there's not a whole lot of difference as far as, the only thing that really changes are the teams and part of the country that you're in, right? So I think it's you may have some bigger staff sizes and you go to the SEC West and you've got a staff of 5 full-time just for football. And then you go to, WAC, Mountain West, and even in the Valley. And we all know how good the Valley is at, football and a lot of other sports. And I think you look at the staff size, you look at that where, you've got, again, at the SEC West, you've got 5 coaches for football. And you go to New Mexico State, there's 6 of us and we're working all sports. And you go to, Indiana State and there's, again, 6 of us, 3 full-time and 3 GAs, and we've all got our own sports. We're all, for the most part, working football. And then I get out here to San Jose State in the Mountain West Conference, which in my opinion is the best group of 5 football conference in the country. And that's just how I feel with the strength of the conference and the teams we have. But, obviously you go from the high school ranks to college ranks, no matter where it's the type of athlete and the competition is going to jump tenfold. We all know that. But man, I think to be honest, the things that change are the logo, the part of the country, and staff sizes. Anywhere you go, man, they're kids and they need to be coached and they want to be coached. And so the job stays the same, but maybe the part of the country that you're in, and the logo you wear, and the brand of clothing you have from equipment, that changes. And again, from a resource standpoint, it does vary quite a bit. But even then, man, I've been fortunate. The schools I've worked at, we've had some pretty nice facilities. I mean, Mississippi State, SEC West, we had anything and everything we wanted, at our disposal. And that was really cool to see that when you do have, all those different tools, how to use it and not get, too bogged down with a room full of, all the fun toys that say, let's be concise, let's be, sharp, and let's be detailed and directed in what we do. And that was really cool to see. But even in New Mexico State, I mean, we had a great weight room, elite form on all racks. We had, the Zephyr units that we would wear during our outside stuff and practice. So that was really cool to have a chance to get my hands on some of that. Indiana State, I think that weight room was maybe 2 years old. It was a nice room, man. It was excellent. What that staff did out there to get that done was outstanding. But and even and out here, I mean, the amount of stuff that we've got out here at San Jose State, and just being in the Bay Area presents a lot of different opportunities to go talk to other coaches, hang out with other staffs, share some fellowship and develop and just chop it up. And we had a chance to go out and kick with the 49ers last August for a day. That was really cool to see. But it's just, yeah, man, that's really the big thing that changes, the logo and part of the country and the school. But other than that, man, the job stays the same. There are kids that need to be coached and that want to be coached, and that deserve the best that you have to bring every day.
That was a theme in my Samson interview number 9 with Riley Allen. He said something pretty similar where it's like the logo and the school color changes. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
And it's easy to, myself included, get caught up in want to end up at that pro team or that Power 5 school or whatever it may be. But your job as a strength coach is to crush it every day. Those experiences with less, develop those skills of, adaptability and those things that we say make good coaches. I'm sure all of those different experiences kind of built on each other to make all of these tools that you kind of have in your back pocket, either having resources or not having resources, that have led you kind of to where you are now. So your decision to go back to school. So going from, yes, can we chat on that for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. So when I got done with undergrad, I went right into coaching, and that was a unique opportunity that I said, this is something that I've got to do, get my feet wet. Knew I wanted to take it to the college level, but just didn't really know how to go about getting in. So I was like, well, let's, I'll kind of bide my time for a couple of years. We'll get my feet wet, coaching high school kids, and really work with the true developmental athletes, right? I did that, and we're normally, when you get done with undergrad, you go right into grad school. I went right into coaching, and that was good decision. If there's something that I may have done different, it would have been, hey, let's try to get into grad school earlier. And that's something that, if I have a chance to be around interns or anyone around the program that needs to go to grad school, I'm like, hey, go do this. This has to be a box that you need to check, you need to get done. Yeah. So when I was down in New Mexico State, crazy valuable experience, man. I would not change that. Those are some of the most formative 2 years of my life, where a lot of growth, not only professionally, but personally went down when I was down in Las Cruces. Essentially, I was in the mix for a couple bigger jobs. I won't say where, but there was a Big Ten school, and there was a military academy in there that I was kind of in the mix for, and that I think was one of the big things that kind of kept me on the back door was not having a master's degree. And I interviewed well, had all the other boxes checked, but that was just something that I didn't have. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is something I need to get. And then there was an opportunity at Indiana State, and I had previously known the director there, Dave McManus. Great dude. Shout out, Coach McManus. Miss you, dude. He was a great guy. And when I saw the GA was open, I reached out and said, hey, man, is this open, or do you have someone already? And he's like, no, man, it's wide open. So we talked, and it was on from there. And then that was just something like, well, it's, at that time I was 29, I'm 30 now. And I laugh. We would joke about it. I'm like, I think it might be the oldest GA in America, but it was an excellent decision. And it was one thing that I didn't really know what was waiting for me, because I felt like I'd had 2 really good experiences, going from Mississippi State and, having a chance to intern under Coach Nick Savage, who's now down at Florida, and then be under Don Decker for 2 years. And what a great time period, and a great way for me to get my foot in the door. And get my feet wet in the college ranks. I'm looking at ISU. I'm thinking, man, there's got to be something else that I need to get entrenched in. And, not only was it grad school, but the friendships and the relationships I was able to make there, and then finding Thirst Gym where I trained at, big powerlifting gym that's owned by Brandon and Adrian Smitley. I had a chance to get out of the weight room at Indiana State and train there, and really, really load my toolbox up with even more stuff. And that was just by getting out of my comfort zone, and getting out of the weight room that I worked in all day. And that was one of the best experiences I've had. And I've had quite a few, but the decision to go back to school, it was more so out of necessity, but it was a decision I'm really glad I made, because I made some lifelong connections and a lot of really good experiences there. And I miss Terre Haute every day, man. I miss the place, miss the people. It was an awesome experience. And I'll be done in the fall, finishing things up online. So I'll be done fall this year and have the master's box checked. So that was a decision to go back to school, man. It was a necessity, but something I'm really glad I did.
Fantastic. And it's weird how the industry's kind of progressed. Like the PhD is the new master's, and then the master's is the new kind of undergrad. So if you had to give advice for a strength coach that wants or is thinking about doing their master's, besides obviously do it, kind of from a logistics planning standpoint, finding a GA-ship, what advice would you have kind of in the planning aspect of that?
That's a great question. I definitely proximity to home would be something to look at. Now I got lucky. And we all know that, even the best, grad assistant positions, they're not going to pay a whole lot. So I think if you're, close to your family, close to home, and I say relatively speaking, within a couple hours, I was about two hours away from home when I was at Indiana State. That definitely helped. Should that drive your decision? Absolutely not. You take, the best opportunity that's presented, because you never know when that opportunity may not come around again. You don't know, I'm going to pass this one up. Well, that might be the only one for maybe another year or two. And it's like, you don't want to be sitting there saying, well, what if, so if you can, like I said, get in a close proximity to somewhere that you're familiar with, or somewhere where, hey, if, something goes wrong, you've got resources there. You've got people to call, friends, family, whatever the case is. But aside from that, look who's on staff. Don't go logo chasing. Look who's on the staff. Do some research, see who's there, where they've been, what kind of coach they are, and know who you're getting in with. Because I think the biggest thing is, and this is something that I've talked with a lot of coaches here over the quarantine period about, is how important it is to get around the right people. And the right people are going to take you to those places, to those schools, and to those experiences that you want. But right now, early on, it's you've got to surround yourself with the people that you align with, and that you want to be around and be proud to be associated with. So really, those two, proximity and look who's on the staff that you're applying to. Those would be the two things I would say immediately you need to keep in mind.
Another common theme, not to go logo chasing. I love that phrase. And I think that was awesome advice that a young strength coach or experienced strength coach needs to hear for sure. So get into our next big question. So two big and inspiring hashtags on your social media. Hashtag high quality juice and hashtag work wins. First, could you explain what that means to you, your staff, your athletes, and kind of how this came to be? And then second, do you think it's important for teams to have kind of like a saying or a hashtag to have as their own?
So I'll start. This is so funny. I talked about this on a podcast about a month ago. So I'll start with work wins. So work wins was that Andy Hape, who is our head football coach at FJ Wright's high school down in Evansville. That whenever he came in, I think I was, oh my goodness, I was 23, fresh. I had one more semester of undergrad left, and so I was thinking, man, like, new football coach coming in, he's probably gonna be like, no, I'm gonna take care of the strength and conditioning. You go do whatever. I'm like, oh. Okay, what can I do to stay on the staff? And so fortunately he kept me on, and the work wins hashtag was something that I kept seeing. He would post stuff on Instagram and Twitter. I'd see our kids posting it. I'm like, I guess this is going to be the theme of our program. So I was like, well, I'm part of the staff, part of the school, and part of what's going on. So let's jump on and let's get on board. And so I started doing that, and high quality. So that's how that came about. It that wasn't totally me at all. That was just took it from our head football coach at the time, but high quality juice. Oh my God. So I was down in New Mexico, and I had an interview with the Big Ten school. And I remember sitting down with one of our assistants, and he was familiar with the head coach there at that particular school at the time, and had known what tree he came from. And that one, somehow through the grapevine, he knew that there was one question that was, describe your coaching style or your presence in 3 words or less. And I'm sitting in my living room the day before. I'm like, gosh, I have no clue what that is. And that was something that I felt like I did a pretty good job of, no matter where I've gone, is that I've brought good energy, good juice, and I've brought a good presence. And I'm thinking, man, if there's nothing else that I can do immediately, it's bring energy and have a great presence. If you can do that on the floor from the jump, a lot of things are going to shake out. A lot of things are going to fix themselves. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to be known for just a juice coach or a hype coach, right? Because I think that's part of it. I think you have to bring that energy, and you have to bring that type of, of presence every day, and it has to be consistent. But what are you doing with that? Are you making noise, being loud just for the sake of making noise and being loud and get in the room all juiced up and whatnot? Or, are you bringing great energy, great passion, and great presence? And are you directing that energy and that passion, that presence in the right way, right? Or use it to get your guys in safe spots? Are you using it to give great cues, to correct things you see going wrong? Is it to set the tone of the day, to set the tone in the room, and be that thermostat and crank it up? So that's where high quality juice came from. It's like, you can still bring that juice, you can still be that presence, but just be calculated and be intentful with or intentional rather with where you direct it and how you direct it. And so for me, I was looking around again. It's like you've got one end of the spectrum of the hype guy, the juice guy, and then you got the other end where it's we're very technical, love to teach. It's like, why can't you have both? Why can't you be both? And I think you can. And so that's where high quality juice came from. And because I'm not a head guy, I can't really speak for the rest of our staff. But what it means to me is that at the end of the day, I hope it means that that at least what it may mean for the athletes that I coach. It can mean all sorts of things, however they want to interpret it. But I hope that that it means to them that, hey, Coach White cares. He cares about us. He cares about our development. He cares about his job, and he cares about the profession that he's in. And he wants to do a good job and do everything that he can to protect it. And so, but at the end of the day, it's just, hey, I want it to reverberate that, hey, I care and I'm here for you, and I'm not going to let the standard slip, because once it slips, it's hard to get back. And if you start letting that go with your athletes, then once they're out of the four walls of the weight room, you're doing them a massive disservice, right? Because once they're done, life's really going to hit. And we have a chance, we have an obligation to get those young men and women ready to go, between those four walls. Then for the 4 years that we have them at the most, it may be a year, maybe 2 or 3 years, but we have an obligation to get them ready for whenever life really does hit, and they're not on a schedule and they're not on anyone's time, they're on their own. But that's what high quality juice means to me, and that's what I hope it means to the kids I coach.
Fantastic. And I like how you kind of brought it full circle, where it's not just rah, rah, rah all the time. It's calculated. You have to combine it with the programming and stuff, and just making that your standard, just as opposed to just coming in guns a-blazing just because you can, and you think that that's what strength coaches should do. There's a lot more that goes into it. And I like that origin story about the question of describe your coaching style in 3 words or less. And I think that would be an awesome exercise for the listener to do. Because I just try to think about it right now, and I would definitely need a lot more time to try to figure that out. That's something that the listener can do as well, is just ask their colleagues what's the most interesting interview question they've gotten, and try to make a little list and try to answer them themselves, just for their own sake, but also, if they're trying to go somewhere else, just to be prepared, have more kind of tools in their back pocket. So that's something that's gonna rack my brain for probably the next few days until I figure it out. But second question on that topic, do you think it's important for a team to have a hashtag, or if you get one, then great, but if not, it doesn't really matter?
Personally, yes, I think it is, because and especially with how big social media has gotten, right? Especially with Instagram, Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram, but I do keep an active Twitter. I think it's big. I think it shows. If anything, it can at least start to help form somewhat of an identity for a team, especially if it's a new team. A new program. And if you're new coming in, you're like, man, okay, there's a staff that's been established, and you're like, you've done your research, who you're coming in to work with, what teams you're going to be with, but maybe that you might see something on a tweet or an Instagram post or a story or something, and you see a hashtag like, for us, it's Blue Line. And we're like, whoa, okay, that's something cool that, our coaching staff has our football coaching staff has implemented with our kids, within our program. And that's, for us, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm down with that. So I think it's a great way to start to shape and build an identity. And that can give you an idea of, okay, here's where I can immediately kind of plug myself in and get on board with the identity and how we're trying to shape this program and this culture and our athletes. So yeah, I think it's important, but only if it's important to, to the coaches and to the kids. I think then it'll be important. But in my own opinion, yes, I think it is.
So more context than just picking a hashtag, but it has to make sense. The identity, everyone's got to be into it, but valuable nonetheless. So get on to our next question. Coach White is a published author on Elite FTS. His article, Conjugate in College, My First Experience with the Conjugate System in Division I Women's Soccer. First, just could you share on that whole process of just getting published on Elite FTS?
Yeah, sure. So that was that's been something that I've been pretty proud to have done over the last year. And so when I got going, so again, I referenced a lot of what went on at Indiana State when I was in grad school. But so the guy who owned the gym that I trained at is he holds a couple world records in some raw powerlifting divisions, but he's also an elite Elite FTS athlete and columnist. And that's been a resource I've used as far as outside of the coaches I've been around and coaches I've worked with, picking their brains and all that. It's like what other resource can I use? And so I'm like, I know about Elite FTS. Then when I got into Thirst and I started training with Brandon and the crew there, that was something that I kept seeing the logo, I kept seeing Elite FTS T-shirts. I'm like, man, this is like staring me in the face. So I got back on that train and started kind of going back and reading a bunch of stuff. And I read a lot of Brandon's articles. Like, man, that'd be kind of cool, to give something back, and start to put some experiences that, I've had, during the last, several years of being a coach, put it out and it, in the hopes that it may help, one or two people. When I was at Thirst and I started talking to Brandon, that was when I really started to understand the conjugate system and started to understand, concurrent training. And, I asked him, like, man, well, how would you run this with a team? And so I picked his brain a little bit about that. And I started, playing around and trying to get some stuff lined out. I'm like, man, okay, I think this if I'm going to implement this in a team setting, I think this is how I would go about it. And so I was like, well, why not document it? Why not see what we get and then put that information out and say, hey, if you're a grad assistant and you're working with, you're tasked with working with a sport, and this is a system that you may not be familiar with, hey, here's how I did, and here's the success I was able to have as a coach with the team that I was working with. And that team happened to be women's soccer. That was more so a spring semester long process. Now I was really excited to do that. Not only that, hey, this is the first time I'm running this type of system, but hey, we're going to document it and we're going to put this out and for everyone to see. And you have to be vulnerable. There has to be a level of vulnerability right there to do that, and some authenticity as well to be like, hey, here's what we put in place. Here's what happened. Here's what I would change next time, do differently. But again, just try to give a holistic view to the readers. But that was a semester long process. And then I submitted it at the end of May. Yeah, end of last May, I submitted the article and it got published in June. It's actually about a year ago. It might even be to the date. I don't know, but it was about last June. It got published, and when it came out, I was really excited how it turned out. The feedback I got on Elite, the feedback I was getting on social media, and had quite a few coaches, email, text, call, hit me up on Instagram and whatnot, and just chop it up, ask some questions. And I think that's, kind of, we were talking before we got going. I think as a coach, once you have, a certain amount of time in the game and you got some experiences, you're, I don't want to say obligated, right? Because no one's forced to do anything, but I think that's something you should seriously consider is, what have I done? What's my body of work look like? But then what can I put out and make available that may help, a coach down the road, or it may help drive our field forward from a knowledge standpoint, from a practice standpoint. So that whole thing was, the whole process is great. But for me, it really forced me to sit down and not just like, okay, here's all the data. Here's all this. Like, no, like you have to put together a thoughtful article that's well written. And that represents you well, it represents your program well, right? And it represents the team that you worked with very well also. So, and again, you have to be sure that the content that you're putting out is something that is that is worthy and that is legitimate and that is good, right? And it's solid, and it's something that the readers and the people that go on Elite FTS can read and take some away and get better from, right? It has to add value to that site and to that library content that they have, which is chock full of stuff, man. It's crazy, but it was cool. I really had to sit down and be like, okay, is this what I want to put out? Is this how I want to be seen as a coach? And is this the kind of content I want to put out to help drive this field forward? And it was an excellent process, and I'm very thankful that for Elite FTS for giving me the opportunity. I'm working on another article right now. Hopefully get this submitted by the time before we go back and see what happens. But But it was a fun process. And I think it's something that every coach should try to get into and try to see what it's like for themselves. It's cool, man.
I like how you use the word vulnerable, because it's tough to really look at yourself and your program in the mirror and really have an honest critique of it, and not necessarily to get published one day, but even if you made a brief bullet point summary of what worked well, what didn't, what you would do next time, and all this stuff, I think that would be a super valuable exercise. And also just the outreach you got because of it. There's a lot of people in your shoes, and there's a lot of people that can gain value just from sharing experiences and just the opening of the strength and conditioning field of recent, where it went from like, this is my program, this is my secret, to being super open and wanting to help everyone out. I think that's been a super awesome change as well. And I would highly recommend reading that article, because I like the flow and just the sections. I don't remember the exact section titles, but it was like, what worked well, what didn't, why didn't some stuff work well, what would I do next time? And it was very logical and thought out, and I enjoyed reading it, and I would recommend it to the listener for sure. And a quote from your article is, if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that I'll never have all of the answers as a strength coach. So I'm sure that quote might have been thrown around a lot, but from going from more of a theoretical standpoint to what does that mean, how you do your job in an actionable thing, like how does it actually manifest itself?
When I wrote that, now in my bias has my bias grown towards that system? It has. I mean, I would be a liar if I said it didn't. And that's just because I've had a lot of success with it. And to me, at least to me as a coach, it makes a lot of sense. Now, that doesn't mean to discount the different systems I've been exposed to, different coaches I've been around that have a completely different way of doing things. And that's fine. I mean, dude, we were down in New Mexico State. We ran a lot of stuff. But we had a systematic way of getting things done. It wasn't just, we're going to do this for this period, not for that period. There was as a staff we met, and and again, credit to Coach Deck. I mean, that the organization was off the charts, and I took away a lot from that. But that was just something that we had a systematic process of doing things. And so I'm leaving there thinking, man, I've got the internship at Mississippi State with an outstanding staff. I've got the 2 years at New Mexico State, where I was a coaching assistant, but treated like a full-time member of the staff. So I get to Indiana State and I'm thinking, man, my toolbox is loaded. What else is there for me to find? And it's like, boom, hit me in the face. I'm like, wow, there's a whole other side of this coin that's here for me to experience and for me to get entrenched in and to dive into. And so I'm thinking, man, okay, what can I glean? What can I take away from what I'm learning now and what I'm doing right now? And how can I take what I feel is most effective from just a systematic standpoint of developing a plan, having those things in place and how to execute said plan. What can I take from what I'm getting now to make it fit with what I feel in my heart of hearts is most beneficial for the kids and for our program. So to me, that's really where that quote really originated from is that I thought I was pretty loaded with a lot of good stuff, and I was. And I still am. I feel those are things that don't leave you, right? But at the end of the day, I was able to find something new in a spot where I'm like, I don't know what's here to find, and then I'm gonna figure something out, and I'm gonna find something. And I didn't know what it was, and I moved out. But over the course of the 7 or 8 months I was there, it became very obvious this is what I was meant to, or part of what I was meant to find, from a coaching, from a professional standpoint. So. And again, there's all sorts of ways to get the job done. I mean, I would run a conjugate concurrent model. Some places are going to run a linear model. Some are going to run like a block model, and some people a lot of people run triphasic, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine, because we all end up at the same spot, right? We all end up ready to go for sport with athletes who are strong, fast, in shape, can move well. But and this is something that Coach Savage at Mississippi State, when I was interning, that he really echoed every day, is that what you do is important, but how you do it is what's going to take things over the top. And that was a constant message, was it's how. And being under Coach Decker, I mean, we know what the standard is down there. We know how that rolls. And that was, again, a massive emphasis was, what you do is incredibly important, but it's how certain lifts are executed and what that standard is. And that standard has to be held every single day. And the programs that have had the most success, at least in my opinion, are the ones that can have that standard. They can hold it no matter what, because they put a massive emphasis on how things are done, if that makes sense. So it's just there's all kinds of ways to go about it, but what you do is important, but how you do it is what's going to be the big separator, at least in my opinion. But yeah, there's all kinds of information out there. We're never going to know it all, right? But I think you as a coach, you can take your experiences, you can kind of compartmentalize, hey, what did you like, what didn't you like, what are you kind of in the gray area about, and figure out down the road where those things fit on your spectrum, on your coaching spectrum rather. But yeah, that's why there's a million ways to get things done, but how you do it has to be the thing that separates you and your staff from everyone else in the country.
Yeah, being open to potentially adding new tools, but also using existing tools in different ways, going back to the how. So I think openness would be a word to just a mentality to have whenever you stumble upon new things, just being open to, you never know what could happen and come from it. And that topic leads into the next question. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. So you're a pretty strong dude yourself.
I'm glad you think so.
How important is it that your athletes see/know that you train? You're big on Instagram. I saw some videos on your Instagram. I actually saw some of your athletes comment on it, and that's what kind of inspired this question. So is it important that they know you train yourself? And does it help that they know that you practice what you preach, you've been there, done that, you get it? Is it more relatable, or could you just enlighten us on kind of that whole topic?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important, right? Because our working title for the most part is strength and conditioning coach. So I think I think that if you do train, which I hope we all do, I know things kind of get crazy and I'm not married. I don't have any kids. So I've got that time after I get done to go up to Boss Barbell up in Mountain View and train alongside some of the strongest people in the game right now. We've got, at any given time, man, you can walk in there and there will be 4 world record holders in the sport of powerlifting. It's like the strength it rubs off on you, But I think it's valuable, and it's funny. That's kind of where the theme of my next article I'm working on for Elite is going to go, is strength coaches getting out of the weight rooms that we work in and going elsewhere to train. At least it doesn't have to be every day, but just when you can. I think there's a lot of value in it. But I think it's incredibly important, because that's you being your authentic self. Because we know in the weight room, and when the bar is loaded, you can tell a lot about a person, right? You can tell a lot about what's going on between the ears. And I think that as coaches, I think if we train, I think we need to at least get that out and let our kids see that, hey, we are in this just as much as you are. So whenever we ask someone to get under a bar, to bench it, squat it, clean it, pull it, whatever it is, we as coaches need to build some trust and rapport with them that, hey, we've been there and we've been under these these loads, we've been in these situations. Let us lead you, let us guide you. We know how to get you on the other side, successfully and healthy. So let us lead you, because we've been there and we know what that's like. And I think if you're able to kind of get that out and add some visual context and be vulnerable, be authentic, and be open, yeah, I think that can provide a massive value, especially if you come into a new spot, right? And you get followed by your athletes on Instagram or Twitter, and you're putting out like, man, this new dude's out here. Like, okay, cool. That's he or she is living it, and it's important to them, and things that they're asking us to do, they're doing it themselves. And I'm saying you have to do exactly what the team's doing, but if you're about it, if that's what you want to do, great. I've got my own way I like to train, and that's kind of my way of kind of getting away from work and read. It's kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's my way of recharging the battery is getting out of the weight room that I work in, and that I'm seeing it. Me and the rest of our staff, we're seen as the hey, we want to know about strength and conditioning. We're going to go to Coach White, Coach P. We're going to Coach Sarkos, Coach Uribe, Coach Franco. Right? You're going to go to our staff. But when I step into Boss Barbell every night, it's a lesson in humility, man. Because we've got a couple guys in there that are 900 plus squatters. One guy's about to break 1,000 raw here in the next probably year or two. It's brutal. We've got those same guys can pull in the low to mid 8s. Dan Green pulled 900 at an exhibition with no belt back in. I think it was like 2014 or 2015 at the Arnold Classic, and I remember watching that. I'm like, my goodness. Just crazy. And then having a chance to go to that gym and train at Boss Barbell, man, the community's great. The people are incredibly strong, but that's been a really good opportunity for me, as a coach. And even in the same way at Thirst, when I was in grad school and I got out of the weight room and started training over there, it was an opportunity for me to get out of, a familiar area and not be the person that is asking, that has gone to, in regards to, hey, what can I do to get my bench better, my squat, my deadlift, where it's like, dude, you've got people that are best in the world who, and I'm a Division I strength coach, but in that venue, who am I? Right. So it forces you to take a step back and like, okay, let me reevaluate a few things and what can I take away from this place where I'm training at. But it's great. And I think for me, moving from Indiana out to California, it was, not only, again, being, friends with the staff that I'm on and we would hang out, but it was cool for me because, okay, this is a new community. This is a great way to meet some people and kind of improve quality of life on the other side of the country. So I've met some awesome people that love to train hard, love to eat, love to go out to eat afterwards. And it takes me back to when I was in undergrad, and that was something me and a lot of my friends and training partners, we just look forward to is once we get done with class, we get done with work, and we just go train our faces off, and then we go share food, man. It was, there was a lot of good fellowship that came out of that time period. And so whenever I go to Boston and we get in training, we go eat, it's like, it kind of takes me back a little bit and kind of the roots of where I came from as a lifter, as a coach, and some years that were really important to me and that I think about often. But yeah, I think it's incredibly important. At the end of the day, you don't want to be coached by someone who's not, a strength coach who's not strong or does it or hasn't lived it to some extent, right? I think if you have an opportunity to show that, and you don't, I think you're missing out on a lot of low hanging fruit right there. If not to go off on a massive tangent, but yeah, I think it's important, and I think if you have the ability to do that, I think you should.
There's something about iron that just brings people together. Hence the Strength Coach Collective. Look at that.
Absolutely.
So Kyle Boddy, the CEO, founder of Driveline Baseball, for my baseball people out there, he's never really played baseball competitively. And there was a quote from him when he started helping out at a high school. The high school coach said, "At the end of the day, you've never played, and that matters to the players." Is that right or wrong? Who knows? But that just is what it is. And not all of us have the ability to play every sport competitively that our athletes are. But specifically in the context of strength and conditioning, you have the ability to train. And it means something to the athletes that whether it's speaking that language or just that they know that you get it, as kind of simple as that sounds, I think that'll go a super long way. Kind of like you said earlier, and getting the hype of your athletes in your comment section, I'm sure feels good as well.
It's cool. Yeah.
And last question on that topic, how many pounds does your beard add to your total?
Man, I don't know. It's about to get its own area code here before too long. I don't know. I mean, I guess once this quarantine's out, this is the longest it's ever been, man. We'll see when Boss opens back up a week from today, actually, on the 22nd. So I don't know. We'll see, because this is the longest it's been, and we'll see if it adds a little bit. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's up in the air, but I'm about to find out.
Fantastic. And next question. So you work with sports like track and field and cross country at San Jose State, and I believe you have at some of your other previous stops. So what can people that work with more traditional sports, football, baseball, basketball, what can they learn from your experiences working with those less traditional sports?
So I think, and this is something that I feel very strongly about, is that since I've been in a spot where I've been not an intern, been part-time, GA, full-time. You see a lot of not a lot, but every so often it's like you'll get some interns come in and like, well, what sports you want to work with? Oh, I want to work with football. I want to work with basketball, right? And the bigger sports that people most are more well known, I guess, for lack of a better term. And my question to them, or not question, but my statement to them is, okay, if you want to earn the right to work with those sports, then you better treat golf, cross country, cheer and dance, gymnastics, you better treat them like your football or like your basketball. Because if you can't do that, then what gives you the right and gives you the opportunity? What have you earned to be able to have a say of what sports you want to work with? Now, if you go to school, like, I was fortunate to go to Mississippi State, and it was a football only internship, because that's where I wanted, my career to go early on. I was like, well, okay, this is a great opportunity. I want to roll with it. But for me, it's, that's something that I took a lot of pride in whenever I got to New Mexico State. And I was, whenever I got called out of the bullpen, so to speak, I got a chance to move up to a paid spot. And they're like, hey man, first team you got cross country and you're going to get track and field as well. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like, okay, this is, and that's something that Coach Deco used to tell us, that you are a reflect, or your team is a reflection of you as a coach. And if that's my body of work, I would do these kids a massive disservice if I didn't treat them like they are the most important thing going on in my life right now. So if your aspirations as a coach, you want to work with football, basketball, if you want, hey, I want to go work big time baseball, you want to work with a big sport like that, then when you're cutting your teeth and you're coming up, you better treat those, what people say smaller sports. You better treat those sports the same way you would treat a football, a baseball, or a basketball if and when you even reach that position in your career where you're the head guy. Because if not, and if I'm in a head spot and I'm looking to hire someone and you can't do that, there's no spot on my staff for you. I'm sorry, because that was something that was incredibly important to me coming up early, and watching what that did to the confidence of the athletes I was working with. Is like, oh my God, we've got a strength coach that's invested, that's trying, and that cares. I mean, it's amazing how far that will go. Not only for your kids, but what that will do for you professionally as a coach and personally too, because kind of we were talking about just a minute ago, the last topic was, right, the iron brings everyone together. And in my opinion, strength is for everybody. It is open and available for any and all who seek it at any given time. Whenever they're ready, it is there. It will not turn its back on you. And I think that if we don't share strength with the teams that we're with, and the young men and women that we coach, then shame on us, because that's us not fulfilling our obligation as strength coaches. And because we know the power of the weight room, we know the power of training and the power of strength, and we know what that can do, not only for performance measures, but whenever they get out and life really hits, we know what value that can add to the quality of life once the playing years are long gone, because sports can end at some point. But this is something that you can take with you the rest of your life, and it can add a lot of quality, a lot of value into what you do day to day. At least it has for me, and it's pulled me through some very, very rough times, very hard times. And for that, I'm always thankful, and I'm always appreciative and grateful for strength and the barbell and for training, because I've been able to shape my life the way I want to shape it around that. And I found an avenue where I can be around sport, which I love being around, and being around the young people, I love that. But being able to share strength to me is huge. So if you can't do that with a team that you're early on that you're in charge of, and you want to pull the excuse, well, I'll whenever I'm in the seat with a bigger team that I'll get right. No, you won't. You won't get right. So to me, I think working with those sports is crucial. And that was a piece of advice that is funny. Riley Allen gave me that. It's like, hey, when you go for these GAs and whatnot, because I had a chance to intern at Mississippi State when he was there, when he got hired, and that was something he really kind of got through to me and some of the other interns, is that, hey, whenever you're looking for these GAs, like working with the Olympic sports is going to be a great way to develop as a coach and sharpen your skills. And once I got in, I understood why, and that was just kind of where my thought process on that started to form. That I feel like that's something that I did from the jump, was whether it's, hey, you're working football, or hey man, you Indiana State, you've got cheer and dance 6 a.m. I'm like, oh man, okay, here we go. How are you going to do it? All right, man, same way you do any other team, right? Because they're still young young men and women, and you're in charge. Go coach, right? It's another chance to sharpen the sword and to sharpen the craft. And if you have an opportunity to do that and you don't take advantage of it, then I'm sorry, but you won't last long in this field.
Bring that high quality juice regardless of the sport.
Absolutely.
And not to discredit those sports, obviously. Just some people would prefer to work with those more traditional sports. But I love that answer. Similar to don't go logo chasing, don't go sport chasing. Your job is to crush whatever sport you have. Mm-hmm. And they're going to appreciate it that much more. And I just did my master's. I did sports science for the TCU women's beach volleyball team. And it was my first semester, and, just some outside grad students, at practice every day, traveling with them, all of this stuff. A few of the girls said, yeah, we just feel like a real sports team here now, that our coaches are paying to have someone travel with us and do all of this stuff. And that was like a big moment to me. It's like, I'm just doing this because I love it, but they appreciate it so much more. So yeah, that's an awesome opportunity. It's like, why do you deserve not to give them your football effort?
Absolutely.
your basketball effort. I think that's another awesome way to phrase it. So an awesome answer. And I think that is super valuable right there itself. So we're getting near the end. So you've been with a lot of new teams, staffs, some different levels, kind of like I said earlier. So relatively speaking, with those different areas, how do you create buy-in?
Oh man, the $1 million question.
Classic
question. There's no better answer than just to be you, be yourself, be authentic, be real. Because if you're not, those kids are going to see right through it, man. They will pick that apart so hard if you're not yourself, you're not authentic. And that was going into New Mexico State. I remember the first day I was on the floor was, kind of got like a day beforehand, I got told, hey, you're going to have a group on a Sunday football lift. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is new and never coached here before. And I was still trying to get used to how things were done, what the verbiage was, and what certain exercises meant, how Coach Decker wanted, how he wanted, cleans and squatting and pressing and all that, how he wanted things done, the organizational piece. And so that was kind of like, well, okay, I'm new. These guys don't really know me from the guy walking down the street, so what can I do that I can have an immediate impact and immediately, get their attention? Well, I can have great energy and I can have a great presence. And if my thought was, man, if you can do that from the jump, just that, the rest will shake out. And the rest shook out over the course of that lift and over the course of those 2 years. And so that was something I'm like, well, that's me. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty excitable guy. I mean, it doesn't take much to get me going, but that's something that I think you have to do if you're trying to create buy-in. Yeah, but I think more so it's building a level of trust. Right, building a level of trust between you and the athletes. And I think if you're unapologetically you, then I think that's going to go a long way. In building that trust and building that rapport with the teams that you work with and the athletes you work with. And then from there, if you're able to get that from the jump, the rest is smooth sailing, man. They'll run through a wall for you, and it makes coaching a lot more fun too.
The first word that came to my mind as you were answering that question was just consistency. Yeah. The athletes know what to expect. And that's going to go a super long way. Think about, especially in college, they have tutoring and they have practice and they have changes because of weather and all of this stuff. But if they know what they're going to get in the weight room every day, then that's definitely going to go a super long way. So consistently, unapologetically, you. Yep. Perfect. So strength and conditioning as an industry, what do you think that we can all collectively do to help move this industry forward?
Oh man, again, that's another hot topic. I definitely have a lot of thoughts on that, but I think the two biggest things that I can put out there is that we, and as a whole, I think, over the course of the pandemic and the COVID shutdown, I think that we need to keep doing this, but we need to keep having the hard conversations that we, as strength coaches don't necessarily want to have, right? We need to keep having those. But also too, and again, something that I think as a whole as a field, we've been doing a really good job of. But just to kind of drive the point home is that, yeah, we come in and we're charged with, getting these young men and women ready to go for sport, right? They're student athletes, but we need to keep in mind that they're way more than just a student athlete title. They're so much more than that, right? That those are going to be the future leaders of the country that are going to, potentially be making some serious decisions down, in the years to come that may affect all of us. So I think we need to keep in mind that, as strength and conditioning coaches or sports performance, athletic performance, whatever your title is, I think the biggest thing is, we're cultivating, athletic performance, in the weight room and with what we do on the field. But at the end of the day, we're really cultivating leaders, and we're cultivating young men and women that are going to be great, great husbands and wives, great mothers and fathers, great, maybe grandmothers, grandfathers down the road, employers, employees, whatever the case is, right? Community leaders. And I think that's something we always talk about. How can you make this world a better place? Well, starting with the people that we're in charge of, or we're responsible for molding and shaping and putting, essentially, putting better people out in the world. We've got a chance to do that. I mean, it's the same thing as, with coaches and interns, right? I mean, how do you make the field better? Well, you better be putting some better intern, develop the interns, put better coaches out. That's how it's going to get better. And so I think we have a massive opportunity to really do some good, but to keep in mind that, they're young men and women first and foremost. They're people, right? They're not just the logo. They're not just the title of student athlete. Because if that's all you see them as, then man, you're missing the boat. You're doing a massive disservice by them. So I think those two things really are the things that we need to keep. We need to keep in mind. We need to keep pressing the envelope on to make, lasting change in our field for the better.
Definitely. And last big question, what's one actionable thing the listener can do tomorrow to start becoming better?
This one I kind of got hung up on, but I was really thinking like, man, what can we do? Because there's a lot, right? There's so much. But I think it's what I said earlier, and I think that's been kind of echoed with some of the other coaches that have been on here. Don't go logo chasing. When you're looking to get in this field, man, look at who's there, right? Look at who's there. Look at the staff. Look where you're going, and get an idea of who you're going to be developed by, right? Because then that essentially will start to shape your thought process as a coach. It'll give you that's the start of your network, and you want to make sure that you're around the right people, that you're around good people that are well respected in this field, and that can help guide you to where you want to go. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be up to you as a coach and as an individual to take those steps, but making sure that you're choosing the right people instead of the big school. I think that's big thing. And I say that tongue in cheek because I went to did my internship at Mississippi State, but when I was a high school coach and I was looking around to do some like professional development, and kind of how I got hooked up there, or got on that path anyways. I was going into my third year as a head high school guy, and I'm like, man, we've got to do something to get our kids better. We're coming up on off season period, and the only school that hit me back I probably shot off, oh my goodness, man, I bet probably 40, 50, 60 emails, something like that. Just, hey, want to, come down, shadow and talk some shot, pick your brain. I'm a high school strength coach. I'd like to, see what I can take away to get better and help my athletes out. And Mississippi State was the only school that got back with us. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so Rick Court was there at the time, and I had a chance to go down and chopped up with him and Coach Savage and the rest of the staff. And I just remember that day was awesome. And then when I had an opportunity to go intern there, I said, okay, I already, at least have somewhat of a connection to these guys, that I know who they are. They know who I am. So I'd be a fool. And I'd be a fool not to. And it was just something in my gut just told me this is where you need to go. And I was like, all right, man, let's pull the trigger and let's go do it. But yeah, I think my choice to go there, was because of the people that were in that building, because the men that I knew I was going to be under and I was going to be, developed by. And then lo and behold, I had a chance to cross paths with Coach Riley Allen. I was really excited whenever he came on board, and got a chance to be under him, along with Nick Savage, Zach Ackenberger, Nate Peoples, Ryan Phillips, an excellent staff that I was very fortunate to start my career with. But yeah, that'd be the big thing, man. Don't go logo chasing. Look at the people that you're going to be under, and what's going to shape your thought process as a coach, and what's ultimately going to start to build your network out.
Yeah, doing your research and asking yourself potentially, like, why do I want to end up with that one logo on my chest or at that one place? And
absolutely,
it really is the people and what you learn. So doing your research, being more active in that process as opposed to just looking at that logo. So fantastic. Where can the listeners get more of you?
Man, tell you, if you guys want to, my Twitter handle is at SC Coach White. I'm more active on Instagram. It's at strength_coach_white. If you guys want to hit me up, email, it's lucas.white@sjsu.edu. And if you want to call, text, hit me up, 812-305-1086. Any way that I can help. If you guys want to, call, text, chop it up about training, I'm always down, to do whatever I need to do, man. So yeah, if you guys want to get at me, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's my email, there's my cell. Not shy away from any of it.
Fantastic. What an awesome interview, and thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate you, man. What you guys are doing is great. Keep it up. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here with you today.